Hey, hello, my friend. Welcome to the channel. If you are an artist who's putting your heart into your art, but you're still struggling to stand out, to be remembered, to be recognized as an artist, well, my friend, this video is for you because I'm going to share some actionable secrets to building an unforgettable artist brand, attracting your ideal audience, and finally getting the recognition your work deserves. My name is Sergio Gomez. I'm an artist, curator, gallery owner, author, and co-founder of the Art Next Level program. And my goal with this channel is to make marketing and art business easy so that you can grow your art career, find new opportunities, sell more art, and spend more time creating in the studio. So if you like that, make sure you click on the subscribe button and click on the little bell so that you receive notifications of our future videos. Well, my friend, welcome back to the channel. What if I told you that the secret to thriving as an artist isn't just making amazing and beautiful art in the studio? You wish it was just that, but there's more to that. It's about how you present yourself and how you connect with the world outside of the studio, right? So stop leaving your artistic success to chance, because now in this video, I'm gonna unpack the strategies that you need to build a powerful artist brand. My friend, I'm super happy because in the last couple of weeks, I've been really thinking about branding for artists. It's something that I love to talk about in conferences, in workshops, in online content that I create, in my podcast, because branding is one of those things that when I went to art school, at least nobody told me about. I didn't even know that existed until I had to actually figure out how to build my own artist brand. And granted, I worked for marketing and advertising for about 7 years, and then I went into about 13 years to also teach at the college level about art and design and marketing. And you know what? I had to really translate what does that mean in the world to actually for us as artists and how we can leverage the idea of branding, into the artist career so we can build, an artist brand that makes sense, that doesn't sound like something too commercial or too businessy that, makes artists to feel icky or weird. So I'm gonna unpack, for you what I feel is branding for me, what I believe to be branding, what I teach branding to be for an artist, and how also you can start building a successful artist brand right now, not next year, but right now in this moment. So let's start there. One of the videos that I teach in my course, the Beyond the 9 to 5, inside my Art Next Level program, my membership, is a course specifically on branding. And I spent about a whole hour just talking about my branding framework. But before I teach one of those pillars of the 3-part artist framework to you that I want to share with you, is I want to think about what is branding, right? What is this idea of branding? So a lot of artists kind of get a little iffy about the word branding. They think, well, is it my logo, Sergio? Is it my signature? Is it how I look? Is it like, organizing my Instagram feed in a certain way so that it has like coordinated colors and things like that? Well, in part that is part of your branding visual language. However, that is not really how I define branding. See, to me, branding is very specific. It's this idea of how people see you and how people remember you, right? How people see you and how they remember you out in the world. That to me is branding. Also, branding for me is this idea of the impression that we leave as we are all us out in the world. Yes, in the studio I make the art. I spend time with myself, with my thoughts, my ideas, making the art. Then that art gets out in the world, and I'm out in the world as well as an artist, engaging with the public. And everywhere I go, I leave an impression. And sometimes positive impression, and maybe sometimes a negative impression. I don't know, right? But as an artist, I need to be mindful of that. Hopefully, I'm not leaving a bad impression because we are all building reputation, right? And reputation is something that follows you. That it's not something that you just build from one day to the next really quickly. Reputation is built over time. So to me, a brand, and the way I teach a brand is that whole idea. Branding as how people see you and remember you. Branding about the impression that you're living out in the world and the reputation you are building, as you go about in the world. And that for me is brand. That's why to me, an artist brand is very important because it allows us to stand out. Why? Because there are not two individuals alike in the world. It may seem that sometimes an artist comes to me and says, hey, Sergio, I feel like, I don't have nothing special about me. I feel like, my art is all right, it's good, but maybe, there's nothing that differentiates me from the 10,000 other artists who perhaps are doing something similar to me. My story is not very like unique. Like, yeah, I went to art school, or maybe I'm a self-taught artist. I started making this art, but there's not like a wow story like some people have, right? Like some artists may have a crazy story of like one day they waking up and waking up to this life of art, after being in a huge accident, and now life giving them a second chance. That's a wow story. It's an amazing story. For most artists, they don't have that. So how do you build a brand when it appears that it's hard to stand out? Or also when it appears that the ocean is too filled with other fish. So it's like I'm just one in the school of fish, right? How do I stand out? And that's where your brand takes place. So there are three main pillars to the artist brand, and the way I teach it in my framework. But today I want to focus on one of them, which I think is one of the most important, because this one, when you use it correctly, will allow you as well to attract the right people to you, the people who have similar things in mind, or characteristics, that when they see you, it's like they're seeing one of them, one of their tribe, right? One of their club, or one of their people, one of their circle. And that's the whole idea. And this is the what I call the values, right? Every artist, as you build your brand, you got to think about, what are my values? And I recommend artists, to think about three values, right? What are the three things that you value as an artist, that you are willing to share with the world? And ideally, three things that also relate to your art, not just three things that are just out there but have no direct relation to your art. Rather, things that relate to your art. Let me give you an example. I work with a lot of artists who have, for example, a passion for the ocean. Let's put that as an example. The ocean. They want to preserve the oceans. They want to make sure that there are no toxics in the oceans, plastics that are ruining, the ecosystems in the ocean. And, a lot of their work, not every piece, but a lot of their work relates to that. They support and follow other brands who, clean the oceans, etc., right? They might follow other Facebook or Instagram accounts from people or organizations that clean the oceans. That is a passion of them. They actually, it's a value. They actually believe that to be one of their values. So one of their values for that person may be, the care of the ocean waters, because in it there's so much life, right? So for that particular artist, because that is one of their values, taking care of the ocean or preserving the blue oceans, that artist can actually start embracing that value, not just keeping it internally as something that they do, but actually making it more an external expression and talking about that particular value. One example, that artists can go to their website and make a blog post about why they love the ocean. Perhaps there's a memory of them going to the beach, with their grandparents, or every summer, for example, or living by the ocean, or spending summers with their kids, whatever it may be, right? Attaching a story to that value, so that value comes alive. And when you do that, you start to find people who also connect to that particular value. Somebody who cares less about the ocean is probably not going to buy your beautiful ocean painting, right? So again, by aligning yourself to your values and expressing your values in the public forum, people who align to those values will start also be attracted to you and to your work and to the stories you have to say related to those values. That same artist can then go to social media and create an Instagram reel, for example, where they have a quick short video of maybe them kind of walking into the beach, and then it changes really quickly, and now it's their painting, right? Voila, now here's a beautiful painting of the ocean. So making the connection between their values and their artwork that they create, right? For other artists, maybe nature, or maybe have a value that's specifically related to a social cause, like against animal cruelty, and maybe they have done also some artwork related to that, or you name it. Let me give you an example. In my case, one of my three values is the cycles of life. I really respond, and I really love the idea of cycles in life, from birth to death, and these cycles have inspired my work. It's one of my values, to really respect all the different stages of life, honor, the different stages of life, and that's a big value for me. A lot of my work is about that. That's why in most of my artwork there's always people, because it's I really connected to that idea, right? To that connection of us human beings in this cycle of life, right? As we go through life, in this journey of life. So I do a lot of commentary on those things when I make, for example, an Instagram post where I may talk about this painting and talk about, here I can talk about the cycle of life really easily. This is a painting that was inspired by my daughter and my wife walking in this beautiful area in South Florida that was full of trees and vegetations, and they were walking ahead of me. So I took a picture of them walking, and I thought, oh, this would be a fabulous painting to be inspired by. So I used that photograph to be inspired by this painting. So here you have the cycle of life, right? Two generations walking side by side into nature, or in nature, and this kind of like red line of connection that connects both generations, right? So I can talk for 30 minutes about that idea because I'm passionate about it, because it's one of the things I value the most. Those relationships that we build, those connections, that community that we build in those cycles of life. So by talking about that, other people out there in the world that I don't know, that I might never meet in the flesh, in person, but who are out there, might look at this painting and might read that comment, might read that story, and all of a sudden, like, oh, I feel connected to that because I, value the same thing, or this is something that I also ascribe to. So by doing so, now there's an association. And that's the beautiful thing that we as artists can do. All of us can do, because all of us have values. I never sat down to think about my values until I started really teaching about branding. I never really took the time to like dive deep into my own thoughts, ideas, and emotions to figure out what is it that I value, right? What is it that I value the most? And I was able to identify, the things that I value the most, like the cycles of life, those connections, faith is a big value for me, etc. Right? Identify. I want you to invite you to identify what those values are for you. And we all value various things, not just one. But what I would like you to do is find the top three that also connect to your art. Because you may have some values that, again, no connection to your art. But what are the top three values that do connect to your art? And for this, you might need to take a notepad, take up a pen, and just sit down in front of your art for a couple of days. Just look at different works of art that you have created over time in the last couple of years or so. Because values may change too. As we grow and as we mature, we may adapt new values and leave some others behind. That's okay. But so looking at your most recent work, start writing down, your thoughts, your ideas. What personal value may have push me, to create that work, or influence me to create that work, or embody in that particular work. Because some artwork may be more consciously directed to your values, others may be more on an unconscious level. For example, let's say you are an artist who does abstract pouring painting, right? So you look at your painting like, well, Sergio, I don't know, there's no specific story on this thing, right? I'm very much like in the moment, in the emotion, and I just drop and move and shake and see what happens. And so maybe it's, a value that you have there is of you're open to chance, you're open to surprises, you're open to what's going to happen, you're open to being, really surprised with a good result, or sometimes a bad result, right? But that you live on that edge of not knowing what's going to happen. So that may be a value that you have. You can talk about that, you You can talk about how as you walk in your studio, you start pouring paint and elements and moving things around. You never know what's going to happen, and there's something inside of you, that has a bit of anxiety to see what's going to work and what's not going to work. You let it dry. You see it the next day, and it could be like a wow, this work is amazing, or oh wow, that's really messed up, right? So you see how now you're talking about a particular language, related to that feeling, that emotion, that value, that drove you to create that work. So don't think that you have no values associated with your art, because we all do. In fact, we all make decisions every day, every moment, related to the things that we value in life, even in a subconscious level. So if you want to create a brand that sticks, a brand that people begin to see and remember, start adapting your values. Again, not all of them, because people are not going to recognize and remember them all. Just pick top 3, and out of the top 3, which one is your most important one, perhaps, and speak a lot more about that one value. And you will see, do a test, you will see, go to social media, start talking about it specifically, and you will see how people who connect to those values may start, replying to your posts, connecting to your story. And that's where you're going to identify, oh, those people do connect with me. Those people resonate with my language. And don't just read it and stay there. Read it. If somebody leaves you a comment related to those values, a comment that's positive, of course, that connects. If somebody says, oh, I don't get it, of course, that person is not aligning to those values. But somebody who says, oh, I love this, or this is so interesting, or I kind of think about the same thing, or I've been thinking about it, something of that nature, then engage in a conversation with that person, either, in messaging, or then in the post, and reply, oh, thank you so much for sharing. This is something I value highly. I see that you value it too. So how awesome that, we can connect this way through art. Art being the vehicle by which your value is expressed, by which your value exists out in the world. And as you start doing that more and more, your artist brand will begin to shine, will begin to be more remembered and recognized. And that's what this video is all about, my friend. So I want to invite you to do this, and I have a challenge for you. I have a big challenge. Try it out for the next 2 weeks. Think about what my values are first. Second, write them down. Third, pick which one is your most prominent value that you express most out in your work. And then for the next 2 weeks, try it out, in your social media, in your blogs, in the things that you do, when you talk to people about your art. Really bring out that value. And then lastly, let me know what happened. Come back to this video, and in the comments, let me know what happened. I'm going to read all the comments. I always read all the comments in my videos, even the older videos. So let me know what happens. Let me know how did experiment, help you grow your artist brand. Now, if you're an artist who's trying to build your brand because you're an artist in transition, meaning you are an artist who's trying to go from a job or a 9-to-5 into a full-time art career, I invite you to also check out the description under this video, because I have a free gift for you. I'm doing every week a free webinar where I share the 3 biggest shifts I had to do and that you have to do if you want to accelerate your process, your progress between a day job and a full-time art career. You're going to love it. I give you very practical strategies that you can start doing right now to transition into a full-time art career. So thank you, my friend, for watching. Don't forget to get your freebie. Go check that video, that webinar. You're gonna love it. And let me know what happens if you do this branding challenge. But wait, before you leave this video, if you are an artist who wants to grow your art career and wants to achieve greater success, make sure you check out the Art Next Level program. You will find a link under this video. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the next video that we have recommended just for you.